Scout, kept things in check. Mubarak in Egypt, not a Boy Scout, kept things in check. The Middle East is a different animal. It cannot run the way we run our democracy. It just doesn't happen that way. We should have realized that a long time ago. Instead, we wanted to topple these regimes, and we've got a disaster on our hands. I mean, we cannot fix that problem. I don't care how many troops we might have to start sending back in. We can't fix it.
All we can do is contain it. But George, if you pull back, criminal elements that want to destabilize, want a war on the police, you name it, it's the same picture everywhere, the same MO. They want this crisis. Then they're going to use the threat of al-Qaeda and ISIS to take our freedoms domestically, and we're back at the Hegelian dialectic.
That's exactly right. I mean, who do you trust? Even if we lived in a world of total peace, there'd be some groups that I would not trust who would want to disrupt our way of living, and they would create false flags just to keep things going. The elitists do not want stability.
They do not. George Noory, coasttocoastam.com. Stay with us. ConspiracyCulture.com is putting on an event up in Canada that I'll be attending. We'll tell you about that. BeyondBelief.com is his TV show. George Noory is our guest. He's launching something new as well that he's about to tell us about here on air today. Then I want to get into the economy with George Noory. I want to get into these riots going on, police brutality, George Soros involved, where he thinks all that's going. Russia says it will retaliate if U.S. weapons stationed on its borders, hence the war pigs coming in. Nobody's saying Russia's perfect. Nobody's saying Vladimir Putin's a sweetheart. They're not offensively over here, though. The West, Samantha Powers gave a speech last week in Ukraine threatening the Russians. I mean, this is unprecedented even in the Cold War. What has changed? Why are our leaders so arrogant? We'll ask George Noory that as well. But, George, first off, I heard you're launching something new. Well, first, let's get into Toronto. I'm excited. I was at one event you did at 590 years ago. I've been at a few other things with you. These things are always sellout crowds. I've been a video guest at two of the other events. Tell us what's coming up in Toronto.
Oh, this is exciting. Yes, over the last couple of years, Alex, you've been our guest via Skype, and they just love you in Toronto. But this time on August 22nd, we've got our very live stage show event, and you'll be there with me. Nick Pope will be there talking about UFOs, a full-packed audience at the Queen Elizabeth Theater, and you get a chance for the first time to hear me sing on stage, which is going to be fun.
You're a great singer, by the way. I've seen it via Skype. It's pretty good.
I've had some fun, but if people in the greater Toronto area, or even Americans want to come to Toronto, it's a gorgeous city, just go to GeorgeNooryLive.com. They're selling tickets, or they've already sold, Alex. The mere mention of your name, in 2 days, they sold 150 tickets. Just like that.
Well, that's exciting, and I can't wait to see you in person. That's the real reason I'm going up there, is to hang out with you and Tom and the rest of the crew, because you guys are a lot of fun as well.
We're going to have a great time. So GeorgeNooryLive.com for the Toronto event. It's August 22nd, and all you need to do, folks, is bring your passport, and in you go. And Alex, I'm sure they'll let you into the country, right?
Well, that's the only issue, is I need a letter saying I'm speaking there. I mean, last time they held me for 15 hours, said I was arrested. It made it all over the papers. Then they had to release me to cover Bilderberg. Maybe they'll let me speak. I'm going to be like, I'm back. I'm just here to speak. I'm not bad, but we'll see.
Unbelievable. Yeah, we'll get you in some way or another. And then the other thing that we have just launched, I've got to tell you this, at these same events, people would come up to me and they would say, I need to meet somebody who understands me, who gets me, who knows conspiracies or about life after death. And I just can't find somebody. Help us. So after hearing that at another event, I said, okay, from here on in, we are starting a dating service for people. Ironically, today, the country of Iran has set up a matchmaking site. But we've got paranormaldate.com, paranormaldate.com. For people with like minds, it's free to sign up. If for some reason they decide to stay there and they want to hook up with people, use my name, George, in the code, and it's like $4.98 a month, $4 or something like that. But
it's a great idea, and
it's growing.
When I first heard the name, I'm glad it's a success. I thought maybe I could date Slimer or Casper. Because
you just might.
Oh, I'm not gay, but does it matter if it's Ghost?
You can have Ghost, you can have Bigfoot, you can date anybody you want, Alex.
Good.
Anytime.
Well, I demand that they then have equal marriage for me so I can marry Bigfoot.
Well, that's doable. We'll do it live on my show.
That's a joke before the New York Times quotes us. We're having some fun. Oh, my goodness.
But they say it's the fastest-growing dating site they've ever seen, and it continues to grow. And we decided we wanted sign-up members to be free. And then if people decide, hey, I want to stay here, I want to hook up with somebody, I want to meet someone, go ahead and do what you do with the membership. So it's paranormaldate.com, paranormaldate.com. And again, for all your listeners, if they use the code name George, if they decide to stay on it, it'll give them a substantial discount.
Well, I love it. It's a great idea, George. You're a great entrepreneur as well, best-selling author, you name it. George Noory, the syndicated radio host and TV host, joins us right now, shifting gears out of that fun news. I'm out of the closet. I like Slimer, folks. It's from Ghostbusters. In fact, let's put my secret boyfriend up on screen. Can you guys? I wasn't planning to do this today, but I'm going to come out of the closet today. Maybe it'll be as big as Bruce Jenner having a sex change. I actually am dating Slimer. And you can actually see a scene of it in the new upcoming Ghostbusters movie. Okay, I'm being sarcastic. You guys Google Slimer yet? Can we show him coming down the hall, please? This is my attempt at humor, which I will engage to impromptu at the event. But your guest, though, is a really serious researcher, and he was pretty high level in the Ministry of Defense. Tell us about that guy. Tell us, yeah.
The Nick Pope Ministry of, I had a little lag there, but Nick Pope was in the British Ministry of Defense. He looked at UFO files. He investigated them, and he's just a riveting guest. He's a no-nonsense guy, and he's going to tell the audience, well, I'm not going to tell them everything that he's going to tell them, but he has seen things that nobody has seen in those files, and he's going to talk about that. But he's a great guest. He's been a guest on Coast to Coast for years now, Alex, and he's just a superb UFO investigator. And again, he was there. He was in the Ministry of Defense in Britain, and he saw things, and they're real.
Well, George, speaking of UFOs, it's such a giant galaxy, and we know there's billions of galaxies that Hubble has photographed. We understand all that. Clearly, we're probably not alone. But you go see a movie like Interstellar, which is long but excellent, where it's actually humans from the future trying to save the Earth, and that kind of creates that time warp loop continuum that's so fascinating. But I'm really concerned about Project Bluebeam that's been partially declassified, and Iron Mountain and other plans to unify the planet under world government with a fake UFO landing. And with the CG and with the technology we know that they've suppressed, they could easily do that with animatronics. We see the Pope getting everybody ready, saying, God has other flocks, aliens are probably real. We see the Vatican getting folks ready. I mean, I really see this preparation in movies and culture pushing this. What's your take on that?
Oh, you are so right on. They want to fake eventually. It's like the day the earth stood still. They're going to want us to flock to government begging for help. Oh, my God, the extraterrestrials are here. They're going to eat us. They're going to take us. They're going to capture us. Please, governments, please do what you can. And under this guise, this is incredible, of using holograms and everything else, they're going to, they think we're going to flock to them for help, like sheeple going underneath a tree during a storm. And I don't think it's going to work. I think people are so tuned into this already through shows like yours and mine that they're going to look at this and go, ha, they faked it. And but they're going to make it as realistic as possible.
Sure.
They might even have some fake alien, standing next to President Obama saying, you know, we are taking over your planet now, and it's going to be unbelievable.
It'll be like The Simpsons. It's a two-headed monster, but as long as you vote for one of the heads, everything's okay. There's the headline. Vatican astronomer says alien life will be discovered, but will not prove or disprove God. Speaking of the big questions, I knew Raymond Teague, who died last year, who was on the front line of the NASA Apollo missions. You can watch the film footage. He's right up there in mission control, controlling the cameras on the spacecraft, on the lander, and so much more. He basically ran Skylab. It was also classified that he came over my house a lot. He'd say, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to tell you. And then he couldn't say it. But he said, listen, we went to the moon, but we have some advanced stuff they didn't want the Russians to know we had. You saw most of the mission, but basically it was linking up with other stuff. And then he just said, I'll get killed if I tell you. And I mean, he really was on the front line of NASA. And he would get really upset when he even talked about it with me. I met with him at a hotel, actually the former SAC base at the Hilton, for a hamburger whenever he was picking up some family that was in town. He said, can you meet me there? And he was going to tell me stuff right before he died because he'd had another heart attack. He was going in for surgery. His heart blew up like 2 weeks later. Oh. And he's just, you know what, I'm not going to tell you, it's too dangerous. He said, I care about you, Alex, they'll kill you. So to the government, he never told me what it was. He just said, look, we went to the moon. Well, separately, they say this, the SR-71 Blackbird is the fastest plane in the world. It was in service in 55. Who believes that? We know they're suppressing technologies. We know that they've gotten really arrogant about these technologies. But how advanced is the secret space program? And from all your research, who do you think's really running things in this global government? And are they so arrogant now with the Russians and others because they've got such super weapons? Or is it just old-fashioned arrogance?
Well, I think it's arrogance, and it's power, and absolute power corrupts, absolutely. I think we've been to the moon. There's no question we've been to the moon. I've interviewed too many astronauts. These people aren't lying to me, Alex. But the question is have we been back to the moon since? And were we there back a long time ago? I think that's possible on both fronts. I think high technology existed on Earth millions of years ago.
Atlantis,
you name it. I think we went to the moon millions of years ago, and that we have structures on the moon.
Well, you know, Plato wrote about Atlantis like it was real, and flying machines and everything.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you know, in India, they had Vimanas, which were flying machines. I mean, they clearly wrote about it. Pictures in Abydos in Egypt, you will see what looks like a helicopter and a submarine and a flying apparatus. I mean, it happened. We had, whether it was extraterrestrial technology or ours, we had the ability to do these things. Something happened on the planet where everybody got obliterated, and we started all over again. And that's a lesson for all of us, because good old planet Earth regenerates itself. And, you know, we could all get wiped out. Every building you see today would crumble to dust. And in 100 million years, it could start all over again.
Well, I agree with you, and I don't like to get into speculation because then the media runs off with that and demonizes me. I can't get folks to admit FEMA camps when they're called Emergency Centers Establishment Act, Civilian Inmate Labor Camp Program. Geoengineering's admitted, but they go, oh, that doesn't exist. So I can't get folks to admit what exists. And in the area of research, you know, there are some kooks out there, some charlatans, but also a lot of real folks. I was in L.A., even after he'd been on the show, and I talked to Buzz Aldrin at length. And then after this happened, he didn't say I couldn't talk about it. But after I talked about it, I guess he got in some trouble and won't come back on. But Buzz Aldrin came on this show and never told anybody else this. It's online. And said, oh, yeah, you know, the same aliens that built Egypt, they're the ones that have got an obelisk, that's what we based the movie on, 2001. It's out on the moon, the small moon of Mars. Mars has one little moon. And, yeah, and by the way, and then next I talked to him a few months later, I'm out in L.A., and he goes, this is over the phone, on speakerphone. He goes, Alex, in about 6 months, they're going to crash a probe in looking for water on the moon. The truth is, we already found it. We're just going to let them think they found it, but we're sending them there with the probe. We got a secret deal with the Indians, and we want them to have this find. But there's a whole ocean of water, basically all under the moon, and that's all I can tell you. And I mean, I'm talking to Buzz Aldrin And then 6 months later, it happens, and they find the water, and it's a whole ocean.